time has come, the walrus said, to speak of many things. No, that's Lewis Carroll. The time has come to continue work on the flame lantern. Basically, a while back, I did a teardown of this flame lantern thing, and if I remember to do it, I'll put a link here-ish for it. I'll also fix my light diffuser here so it's not encroaching on the image. There we go. But very cleverly built little thing that makes a fairly convincing flame effect. But two problems. The main problem was that it was powered off of 2 C batteries, which is just ridiculous. Nobody uses C batteries anymore. And the second complaint was that it had no option for an external power source. So I was fiddling around inside. I thought to myself, you know what? There's enough room in this that I'm going to make it battery-powered and rechargeable. So, to that effect, I have a lithium cell that I salvaged from a power bank, a battery protection board that I have no idea where it came from, but I just found it in my small parts bin, which is good because I ordered some battery protection boards a while ago, and they have yet to arrive. A 5-volt charge controller, from which I'm going to desolder all of the connectors because I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently. And this thing here, which is a buck regulator, that's going to take the 5-volt output of the charge controller and step it down to a little over 3 volts to operate this. Oh, and then a little tank capacitor to filter the output of the buck regulator. So, the first thing is to address the subject of battery protection. Now, I forgot to write down which of these leads was which when I took it out of the battery bank, because I saw here that there's a positive marking. But if we flip it over, there's also a negative marking on the exact same side. I don't know if you can see it, but trust me, it's there. And there's a positive marking there, negative marking there. So I have no idea which of these leads is which. So we're going to start by testing the battery. We're actually going to see how horribly discharged it is by putting the leads across. Now if I put the leads across this and I get a positive reading, it means that the positive lead is in the correct position, and that's the positive lead. If I get a negative reading, it means I've got them reversed, and that way I know which tab is which. So we're just going to do this, and I guessed right. So we're at 2.9 volts, which is a little low for a lithium cell, but it's been sitting unused for a fair bit of time. So I'm just going to take my red marker here and write plus there, and then just for completion's sake, I'll write a minus there. So, the next step, I'm going to set the main body of the flame lantern over there because we're not going to need it for a while. Put my multimeter down because we're not going to need that for a while. Just kind of shuffle this stuff off to the side. Don't need the X-Acto knife. And then we're going to turn the soldering iron on here, and we're going to grab some packing tape because I don't have any Kapton tape, so we'll just make do with packing tape to protect this. So we're going to start by removing the old bits from the board here, which shouldn't be too difficult because it's already labeled. So I'm just going to pop the old wires off like so, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to desolder, hopefully, the pads here, because I don't think they were spot welded on. I think they were just soldered on, but I need to desolder the pads. There we go, there's one off. And hopefully the second one comes off as simply, but it's going to be on a ground plane, which is going to make this a little more challenging. Move my forceps here so that they're not acting as a heat sink. Try again. I may add a little bit more. Oh, there we go. Popped right off. Alright, so there's that part done. So now we've got a clean board. Battery positive and battery negative are marked on that, so that's all good. Then we just need to figure out how we want to do this part. So I think that what I want to do is I want to mount it on the board, on this thing pretty much as close as I can, like this. But I'm also going to need some slack on the tabs here so that I can actually solder them on. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend these over a little bit like so and solder them on like that. And just to keep myself from accidentally shorting them out, I'm going to take a little bit of packing tape here and kind of do this with it, because the packing tape is exactly as wide as the battery protection board. So I'm just going to do, actually I'll do a couple layers. So I'm going to do that, just rip this in half, there we go. So put that over that like so, and we'll put another layer like so, just to kind of try to keep the leads from shorting on each other, and that way this can basically sit there without any issues. And the next step, hopefully this will provide enough stability. This is going to be challenging. Am I staying in shot here? Yeah. I should probably zoom in a little bit. There we go. Actually, I'll uncoil some solder here, and then I'll use the solder to weigh that down so that it actually stays put. And then we're going to change the angle here so it's a little easier to work with. Compose the shot a little better. There we go. The weirdness of being a YouTuber. Having to constantly worry about whether or not what you're doing is properly in shot. And maybe just brighten up the image a little bit. There we go. Okay, so this is going to be the battery positive tab, so I'm just going to go ahead and flow a generous amount of solder onto the positive tab there, and then I'm going to have to bend this up just a little bit because I want to solder this side of it. I'll flow a bit of solder onto the tab of the battery. And then just to make sure I get a nice clean connection, I'm going to put a bit of flux on there, and then, and this is going to be the challenging part, let's grab a pair of my ceramic tweezers. Where are the bent nose ones? Alright, so we're going to position that. I'm probably being a lot more exacting with this than I need to be, but why not? Oop, and it fell over. That's okay. I'm just going to move it a little bit to the side here. Basically, I'm just trying to make it so that the soldering process is going to be as simple as possible, because I'm working with kind of a difficult position here. So then we'll just flow that into place. We have to hold it still while the solder sets. There we go. Alright, so there's one side done. Now the other side is going to be very challenging. Actually, maybe it won't be too bad. So we'll just bring that around like so. Let's go ahead and dope the battery protection board with solder. Of course this one, oh, I was about to say this one's going to be a pain because it's a ground plane, and it's not going to take solder very well, but I took it rather hungrily. And we'll go ahead and get some solder onto the battery tab. Again, with flux on the protection board. Now, these also have battery protection built into them, but being as this is a fairly high energy cell, I'm over-engineering just a little bit because I really don't like the concept of accidentally setting a lithium cell on fire. So then, I'm just gonna kind of use friction and the springiness of the metal to solder that into place. Actually, I should have been using not these, but the ones that I should have gotten, which are non-conductive tweezers, but that's okay. Alright, got a nice solid connection on both of those tabs. Now I'm gonna put another strip of tape a little bit more, pardon the lovely tape tearing noises. Just want to over-engineer it just a little bit more. So I'm going to take this tape and run it through there. Just to make sure that I don't accidentally short anything out. I'm going to go ahead and tear off the extra here, like so. And then I'll go ahead and flatten this down. Yep, we're good. There's going to be no accidental shorting of the leads there. And then I'm going to tape over top of the whole thing one more time. So let's just go ahead and take this tape and do that. Oops, I shouldn't have done it there, because I just covered up the two power tabs on the end there. I have to leave those exposed. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that, just to make sure that nothing untoward happens. Alright, now I need to run myself some wires off of the power tabs on the battery here. So that's going to be the next step. So let's go ahead and do this again. Maybe bring the focus point up to here. There we go. I got 6 minutes left for this phase. Let's see. Some really nice wire in here. There we go. Just snip off a fairly generous section of each of these, which I'm doing off screen, but I'm just cutting myself some red and black wire off screen here. And oops, that one. There we go. So there's the wires. And I probably cut off far more than I actually need, but I'm not overly concerned about that because I can always trim off the excess. But this is some very nice pre-tinned copper wire that I got on eBay from, I believe it was Alice, who I haven't ordered anything from in a long time. Just mainly because when I order stuff on eBay, I search for what I want, and then I search for lowest price plus shipping, and then I pick the most legitimate looking source for the item I'm looking for that is in my price range. So I'm just gonna pre-tin these pads here. That's the P minus there, power minus, and that's the P plus, power plus. And then, just because I'm still trying to be careful here, I'm going to put a little piece of tape. See, I should be doing this with Kapton, but I don't have any Kapton on hand, so I'm just making do with packing tape. So I'm going to cover the last of that positive tab there with a little bit of not Kapton, but a little bit of packing tape. And then I'll go ahead and tin these wires. Oh, come on, cooperate. I still haven't quite mastered the Big Clive style of holding on to 5 different things while soldering them that Big Clive is quite adept at. And then I'm just going to use my diagonal cutters here to snip off just a tiny bit off the ends of these, just to make them, I want them basically to meet right up against the edge of the board. I've only got 4 minutes to finish this phase of the project, unless I want to edit video, and I really don't want to edit video. So there we go, there's that one soldered into place. And there's that one soldered into place. Excellent. Now I'll just go ahead and shut off the soldering iron and set it to the side so that I don't accidentally burn myself. Then I'm going to take one more strip of tape and lay it over top of the whole mess, just like this. Excellent. And there we have a reasonably well protected board. I would have preferred to do all this insulation with Kapton tape naturally, because it's what you're supposed to use, but I don't have any Kapton. So let's bring the focus back down, zoom back out just a little bit, and then just for one last final cleaning, I guess I did end up needing the razor blade here. I'm just going to carefully trim off the remainder of this little extra tab of tape. There we go. Trash. Alright, so battery protection board successfully installed. The next step will be probably working the rest of the circuitry into the project, and then installing it into the box, which is going to be really hard to film because the box is really huge. But I'll see what I can do. Anyway, if you haven't already, consider clicking here to subscribe. Right over here is a video that YouTube thinks you'll find interesting. Right here is, I guess that'll be the prototypes playlist. Pardon me while I fix the centering of my camera. And right here will be a link to Patreon that you can use to help support the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next part. Bye-bye.